How about the Las Vegas Raiders defense stepping up in a big way? Listen, a lot of people have been talking about how this is an offensive team. We talk about that because they are an offensive team. That's where they make their money. But at the same time, this defense really stepped up against Denver and completely shut down. I know it was just Drew Lock, but they looked really good out there too. And I think sometimes when you look so dominant, people almost don't even give it any consideration just because they say, well, then the other team must have been terrible. In this case, the other team made mistakes. Locke made some mistakes, but also this defense was just really good. First, I want to show this play. This is going to be a rushing play, so I want you to take a look at Max Crosby right here going up against Denver's right tackle. Really what the Raiders did incredibly well was they kind of bullied this Denver Broncos offensive line. And the Broncos offensive line isn't good, so that's why they were able to do so. But at the same time, it's still promising that you're able to do that, and that's a big way you're able to win football games is when you win the battle in the trenches, and they absolutely were able to do that in this game. What Las Vegas is going to do is they're not just going to play this straight up, so it's going to be a rushing play, but what they're going to do is they're going to have a couple, Max Crosby and their other interior defensive lineman who's on Crosby's side, they're both kind of just going to shift over to their right, so to the right of the screen. You're then going to have Nick Kwiatkowski, number 44, who's behind them, kind of just shift over to the left a little bit. And so the idea is that you're still having someone in every gap, but changing it up a little bit, it can allow some of your guys to maybe get through the line a little bit quicker. And once this ball is snapped, watch that footwork from Crosby. I mean, he just, in a split second, is able to get to the inside like that. And at this point, there's just nowhere to run the football. Philip Lindsay has the ball, and I mean, he's not going to be able to do much with it simply because of that one step. One step in football can sometimes be the complete difference in like a good run and a bad run. That can be a 10-yard difference, just one step right when the ball is snapped. Crosby is able to make an immediate tackle. Just a really good play from him. Fine play design. It's not something you won't see, but really well executed by Crosby. And it was a lot of stuff like that. The running game was fine for Denver. They averaged around 4 yards per carry, which is solid, but it wasn't anything great, and there were constant tackles for no gain or tackles for losses, and those really basically kill your running game for the rest of until you get a first down or the end of the drive. Okay, let's talk some Jeff Heath. I mean, he was able to come away with 2 interceptions, nearly a third. This one was the first, and I think a lot of people, I really want to break this play down, even if it wasn't talking about Jeff Heath. I want to break this play down because I think this is a good example of showing, yes, it can be a bad play from the quarterback, a bad throw from the quarterback, and also be good defense. Those things aren't mutually exclusive. So the play is going to be man coverage. It's a cover 2 man play. So, a lot of teams don't do this anymore. A lot of teams will just play cover 1 when they play man, but the Raiders they still sort of have that old school mentality. They will play cover 2 man. Obviously, every team does some. They play it a little bit more than most, but so you have a receiver who's running a deep route, and it could sort of get open, right? When he kind of gets over the middle, there is an opening, but of course there's 2 safeties deep, so it's not going to be like a great route against this coverage, but it is a route that can work. And once this play starts, you see that LaMarcus Joyner, who is the defensive back in that area, he's trailing, but it's not a terrible situation, and he's actually doing an okay job of knowing that he has 2 safeties deep, and it's not the end of the world to get beat deep on this play. He's okay with getting beat deep. It's not preferred, but if he does get beat deep, it's a lot better than if he were to get beaten any other direction. And while Locke probably should throw it to a different receiver, one closer to the bottom of the screen who is much more open, Locke still sees that, hey, he does have a window, a perfect throw, and this is going to be a big gain. So I understand why Locke is making this throw, although it's probably not worth the risk. So then when Locke overthrows it a bit, now Jeff Heath is able to get this interception, and so yeah, right, it obviously is a missed throw first and foremost by Locke, but part of the reason why it was a missed throw is because Joyner did a really good job of understanding where he can get beat and essentially forcing Locke that if he's going to beat him, it's going to have to be with a perfect throw. Locke wasn't able to make it, and then the Raiders were able to get an interception. And Heath's other interception was just a great read. It's going to be zone coverage, and there's a receiver who's running a route that looks as though it's going to get into a gap in this coverage. So on paper, this makes sense. This is a good route for Locke to throw to. It's definitely something that can get open. Once this play starts, you see Locke's getting ready to throw it, and it's Jerry Jeudy in that situation. Him and Heath are both in the yellow box, and I don't hate this decision from Locke. I really don't. I understand why Locke is making this throw. I mean, he's throwing to probably his best receiver. It's a good matchup, him against the safety. I get it. I really do. I understand why Locke feels that he should make this throw. You're just going to see an incredible read from Heath. He reads it beautifully, breaks in, gets the interception, and accelerated quickly to do that. That's just an incredible play, and that's just kind of one of those for Denver. You say, like, hey, good job. Like, you found a way to make it work. It's hard to get too mad at that. I mean, that's just good defense. This next play was another good one, where it's man coverage, and for Denver, they have just a little pick play / rub route, whatever you want to call it. One receiver kind of runs one way, the other runs the other. Hopefully this creates some dysfunction, some confusion for the Raiders, and they can get a first down. Currently, Denver is in a 3rd down and 3, so, it's a good short yardage play, especially against man coverage. So again, on paper, Denver is winning, and there were a lot of plays like this where on paper, Denver at least had good situations, and it was talent that made the difference. The Raiders' defensive talent against the Broncos' offensive talent. Locke takes the snap, he makes a quick throw, but Joyner is able to just make an incredibly quick tackle. Again, good read. They understood what they were supposed to do. Everyone seemed to understand their role really well, and I like how a lot of these coverages for the Raiders are very basic. They will every now and then get creative, but a lot of times they're just running these basic, simple things, and it makes sense, especially with a lot of young guys on the roster. You don't see a lot of guys in the Raiders defense missing their assignments anymore. You saw some early on, but later we've really seen that I feel like they know what they're supposed to do. There's not a ton of defensive breakdowns, and not only that, but there's guys knowing what they're supposed to do and figuring out, when there is a good offensive play scheme to hurt them, they're still able to figure out what's going on very quickly. So they just have smart guys who are figuring things out quickly, which is also very promising. It was a promising win. They definitely have to feel very happy about it. It's going to get a lot more difficult next week. You got Kansas City. Hey, the Raiders have already beaten Kansas City once. Will they beat Kansas City a second time? It's going to be tough, but they absolutely are capable of doing it, as we know. So it should be a fun game. It'll be a lot more difficult than the one against Denver, no doubt about it. They're going to have to play better, but I feel like the past 3 weeks, the Raiders' defense has looked a lot better. Coming off of they got really their defense had trouble against Tampa Bay, had trouble against Kansas City, but really came alive in the second half against Kansas City. They've had their moments, and they're getting hot at the right time. So hopefully for Las Vegas, they can continue to improve as the season goes on. And who knows, a big win against Kansas City, and that would make a world of difference. So, yeah, that's what I think about the Raiders' defense. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And, of course, as always, thanks for watching.